IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashtin Doctor, your habit coach, and today with me we have Shashank Mehta. We recorded the first part of this podcast and it was out just a few days ago. This is the second part of it. So if you haven't heard the first part, please go listen to that because that describes his journey on becoming fit from a place of being overweight and yo-yoing. Today, he's going to talk about how he launched his business. What is it like to become an entrepreneur in today's world, and what has he learned from it, especially an entrepreneur in this whole fitness wellness world? So let's jump straight into the podcast. What has the journey been like in as an entrepreneur? Obviously, you don't come from an entrepreneurship background. I remember having that conversation with you,
Yeah.
and you're the first entrepreneur in your family. What has that journey been like as an entrepreneur? And then what has that journey been like in the health space? And do you like calling it the health space or fitness space? What is it that you are in? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, actually, I'll come in the order that you asked the question.
Okay.
The journey of being an entrepreneur as young that I am in that journey, actually, I'm finding it extremely fulfilling. So I had all these theoretical doubts in my head that, as I was telling you, that I come from a middle class, service oriented family. No one till 2 degrees of separation has ever done a business. So our ability to, like no one in my family has seen a day where salary doesn't come in, right?
Correct.
So I had all these doubts in my head of how I'd cope with it. But while that does take a little time getting used to, the great thing that happens from day one, at least for me, was this feeling of ownership is something I'd never experienced before. In a corporate job, you spend 70% of your time doing well and 30% of your time figuring out that if things didn't go well, whose fault it was. Uh, but over here, the minute that question went out the window, that the good, the bad, the ugly, everything is me, everything is up to me, that just unlocks a level of productivity that is unbelievable because you just don't waste any time thinking kiski galti hai.
Correct.
So from that lens, it's been very, very rewarding. I'm sure part of that, me feeling it's very rewarding is touchwood. We've had a decent run till now. I'm sure there are bumps up ahead, but it seems like I'm going to enjoy it no matter what comes.
You're going to enjoy the
Uh,
bad too, because the
yeah.
bad is going to show different sides of you and your personality and how you deal with it. And I think the kind of person you are, you're going to enjoy meeting those aspects.
I hope so. I hope so. I'm also getting a feeling that I'm just enjoying, like when the coronavirus hit, we thought, oh shit, this early in our entrepreneurial journey, something like this is happening. Revenues are going to go down to the bottom, etc. But my feeling about the journey hasn't changed in the last 2 months.
Lovely.
So yeah, it's been a very, very pleasant surprise. Uh, uh,
I want to add one
Now
thing to
on,
this.
yeah, yeah,
The the big change that takes place when you go from a salary job to an entrepreneur is the concept of a delayed gratification. And if you can make peace with this idea of a delayed gratification, you can achieve almost anything. The problem is that as soon as people say that, no, why should I do this? Who's going to pay me right now? Right? So, like, we've been doing
yeah,
this podcast for a year and a half, 2 years. We know that the podcast will give some form of returns maybe later on in life. Nothing's happening so far, right? The
yeah.
ability to do that delayed gratification is the big change, the mindset change that takes place.
Absolutely. And I think, if you think about it purely logically, I can
Hmm.
understand if someone who's living salary check to salary check saying that, hey, I can't afford delayed gratification, that I can
Correct.
understand. When I started my career, while I started earning a decent amount, in the first 3-4 years, I wouldn't have wanted to live that life. But after 10
Of course
years,
not.
once you have a bit of saving in the bank, it's not as if you're gonna And if you're from a decent educational background, it's for certain that you're not going to go hungry or
Yeah.
need to drastically downgrade your lifestyle. I can any day go back and I'm fairly sure get a job if I need to, right?
Mm.
So I think that one huge difference was someone told me, think about whether it's risky or scary.
Mm.
Actually, it's not risky. There was no risk. The worst case scenario was after 3 years of trying, I'll go back and do a 7-8 figure job.
Correct.
Uh, it was scary because it was unknown territory, it was uncharted waters, and hence once you realize, oh, I'm just scared. There's no then if you train your mind to overcome fear, you can take the leap, I guess. Uh, Coming to your question of health industry, I see this. I actually hate the word health industry. Unfortunate, it's such a misnomer because this is the industry which is tasked with getting you healthy, and the industry which won't survive if you get healthy. Uh,
Correct.
uh, yeah, so uh, uh, very strictly speaking, as of now, we are in the protein bar market. Although we will
Okay.
get into other food categories soon, but I do see our brand as much more than just a brand that makes food. And you would have seen what we are doing on our social handles, and we're gonna, deep double down on that sort of content. So for me, it's more of a crusade. The physical product part of it is proof of our commitment that we are not just giving gyan, we are actually acting on it. uh, but the mission is taking what Fitchit was doing and doing it at a much larger scale. If we are able to build a profitable business around it, which can self sustain, that
Mm.
would be utopia. Because
Correct.
very rarely do you get to do the right thing and yet make money off it. Generally,
Yeah.
one has to compromise. So being a entrepreneur in the health industry has again been, like any entrepreneurial journey, there are headwinds and tailwinds.
Mm.
People used to tell me that, oh, crowded market, so many brands, so many people are launching. Protein bar is a nascent category, small category, not big enough, etc., etc. So all of those headwinds are true. There are
Mm.
also the tailwinds of more and more people are getting conscious about what they eat. More and more people are getting willing to spend more money on eating clean, etc. So there are those tailwinds, which I'm sure in some way or the other are there in every entrepreneurial journey. So eventually, I just feel it comes back, how your journey is comes back to what's within you, not to what's outside. Not because every industry will have its own challenges. So I actually don't even think of is being an entrepreneur in the health industry any different from being an entrepreneur in any other industry. I'm fairly sure there are similar challenges everywhere.
So you're not seeing a dramatic difference in this, and I completely agree with you. I hate calling it the health, fitness, etc., because it just boxes you into this strange category. It's more living, and then once you say lifestyle, you suddenly get into branded clothes. So it's actually a very strange, you know, position. Like, where does habit coach fit? I don't know what category you would fit in. Like,
I like to say we are in the business of telling you the truth,
hmm,
either on pack or in my words or on my social media. And the lens with which I'm looking at the world right now is food. So I'm going to
lovely.
tell you the truth about food. But tomorrow, if I shift my lens to exercise, I'm going to tell you the truth
Hmm.
about exercise. And of course, there is no absolute truth. I'm going to do my best to tell you the whole truth about uh, how I've experienced it and what I've
Hmm.
learned about it, because that's the most honest I can be about anything.
Correct. So a little bit about your product. I don't think we covered too much about it. So, and nothing else right now makes protein bars in how many flavors?
5 flavors.
5 flavors. And they have no more than how many ingredients on it?
The max is 6, the minimum is 4. So four, between 4 and 6 ingredients.
4 and 6 ingredients. And these are common household ingredients, nothing with a fancy name that you cannot pronounce, nothing that sounds even remotely chemically, right? this is as pure of ingredients as you can get.
Absolutely. It's again very rare that a packaging design dictates your organization. But how we started this was saying that, hey, if we make a public promise that we will always declare every ingredient on the front of pack, that just removes any possibility of putting shitty ingredients in it, right? Because we'll get penalized. I can't put maltodextrin because I'll have to declare it. And if I declare it upfront, then consumers will be like, oh, इसमें maltodextrin है, ये क्या होता है? 90% food that we are eating has it, but it's on the back of pack. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the simple rule is, if you can't pronounce it, we won't put it in. And if it starts becoming like 15, 20 ingredients, we won't make that food. Ideally, we try and keep it very, very less processed. Also, in terms of the amount of processing we do on the food, like the only equipment in our kitchen is a oven for roasting the nuts and a mixer for smooshing everything together. That's it.
Correct. In fact, when all of us go through this health journey, we all say that, I can make this at home, I can make this at home, I'll make this at home. And I know that your journey also must have been like, I'll make these protein bars at home and see what they turn out to be like. I made them for sure. Yeah. And like, you'll do it the first time, you'll do it the second time, and then you'll be like, Baba, I just wish like somebody else would make this for me and I could buy it for them. And I think that's why you found that perfect spot on where everyone would have experimented with this, not got the composition right, and said, "Chalo, let's leave it to the professionals to do this."
Yeah, and absolutely. So, my mom used to keep telling me, because again, she's the quintessential middle class, risk averse. My son will go and screw his great life sort of a mom, right? She cares that much. So she used to keep telling me that, A, you're making such a simple thing. B, you're putting the recipe on the front of pack. What stupidity is this? Of course you will get copied and people will be like, "Arey, to main ghar pe bana lunga." Right? But it took us a year to get to the product, because we realized that actually keeping everything natural and to a few ingredients is far tougher, because there's nothing to hide behind. No. If there is no artificial sweetener which can mask the taste of other shitty things that you put in it, there is no artificial binder which, no matter how you mix this thing, it will come together, because there's some gum arabica sort of thing that's been put into it, xanthan gum or something that's been put into it. So because you're not adding any preservative, yet you want to sell on the shelves and have some shelf life, that means that you can't add even a drop of water, because water is what leads to products going back, because microorganisms need water to live. So that process of removing water from the recipe is a painful process, because without water, without any artificial binder, how do you hold the goop together? Nothing, So even now the bars are fairly fragile, but you should have seen when they started off, they would just crumble at the touch. So it like, we've done recipe trials, and by we I mean me and my chef friend who eventually came on board to become the head of product for us. We both of us made this product at home, and over the course of a year we've done recipe trials of saying, add one almond, remove one cashew, add half a date, remove half a date. That's the nitty-gritty that you have to get into. So when people tell me, someone will copy it, I'm like, please.
Go ahead.
Please, as it is, there's a country mile between saying and doing, and once you get to doing, you'll realize that it's not that easy. So yeah, be my guest.
I'm like, Wagamama gave its famous curry recipe out right now for people to make at home during the lockdown. And some people might say, "Are you stupid? Why would you give your star recipe out?" But it's just going to be like, people are going to make it at home, say, "I can't do this. Let's go to Wagamama when it opens." That's exactly how.
Absolutely.
And this information age that we're living in, it's all about sharing information. And you realize that the more information you share, the more we all grow together. And while the last age was all about divide and conquer, I think this is more about coming together, creating friendships, creating bonds, doing stuff like this, right? Like we are doing the lives on intermittent fasting on the And Nothing Else channel. And it's so interesting because growing with each other is so much more pleasurable than not sharing this information and being secretive about these things.
Absolutely. And even for people who are cynical about sharing, my
Mhm.
argument is, how are you going to hide? Like, there is like, if White House documents can't remain hidden, then what are you and I going to hide? Yeah. So as it is, there is no other way. Even if you don't
Correct.
see the merit in sharing, I don't see the point
Absolutely.
in hiding. So you might as well go ahead. And uh, in this obviously world of information overload, it's actually only through this sort of consolidation that you can actually combine forces and hopefully be heard.
Yeah.
Standing alone and shouting in a corner will get lost in the sea of voices that we are as it is bombarded with.
No, I think you guys have had an incredible growth from the time you have started. I've been following it, and it's just superb. I wanted to give you a lot of tallies for it.
Thank you so
But
much.
and it's all come actually from collaboration, and
Yeah,
a large part of it is collaboration. Like suddenly, every single restaurant I went to in Bombay had an And Nothing Else bar on the counter. All the fitness people were talking about And Nothing Else and sharing it. So I see the way that you've used collaboration to grow yourself is beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, that was a key factor from day one. That we said that the way brands grow is actually by association. I want your Ashden's halo to reflect on my brand, because that says something about me. Who I hang out with says something about me. Yeah. So
Correct.
and we were so clear in our hearts that these good people wouldn't mind hanging out with us once they see what we are doing. And that's what happened. That the minute
That's
we
honestly the
went
right
there.
way of doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. It's reaped
Like one of the
dividends which you
habits that
couldn't
we
imagine.
talk about is sorry.
Sorry, go on.
I was saying like one of the habits we talk about is choose your friend circle, and that's exactly what you are talking about because your friend circle is what creates you, grows you, pushes you, and like you said, gives you the halo. Okay,
Absolutely.
we're almost running out of time. Shashank, do you have three habits that you think everybody should definitely try inculcating in their life, either as an entrepreneur or in the health space or for the fitness or for life? What would you think?
I think one, I personally think writing is a very, very strong, important habit. Not only does it force one to think coherently, you can branch out in 10 directions in your head when you're thinking, but when you put pen to paper, you have to choose one direction and write about it. That itself, I find to be very powerful. So I personally make sense of the world when I write. So I think writing at some frequency, even if you're not doing it for the external world, if it's a diary or something, is a very, very important habit, I would say. uh,
Super.
the sec the second one is, this is more personal one, the one that I said about, uh, whenever you're feeling scared of doing something which you've never done in the past, and giving yourself reasons for why it should not be done, just take a moment to figure out whether this is scary or risky. Once you logically tell your brain over and over again that actually there is no risk, and the exercise I like doing as a habit in any decision is, I first like to define what's the worst case scenario. And if I'm happy living with the worst case, that it's not that bad a worst case actually, then taking that risk or taking that leap of faith becomes a lot easier, because I've made my peace with whatever is the worst that can happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well said.
And coming from a health journey point of view, I know the words calorie counting are, I know even you don't abide by, subscribe to that, but I actually have found calorie counting, but I'll explain what I mean by it. A very, very important habit in my fitness journey. Not because calorie counting is everything, but because when I got into to get into the habit of calorie counting, I had to understand my food and become conscious about it. Yeah, so it forced me to learn my food. When I used to put in what I've eaten in my calorie counting app, it used to throw up that these are the macros in it. That got me intrigued. Oh, why does this have so much protein and that has lesser, and all of that stuff? So the curiosity started building, and I started learning about my food. So I find it to be a very, very useful habit, which makes sure that your knowledge of your food will grow. And once you know what you're putting inside your body, once you truly understand food, there is zero chance that you will screw yourself over. We only screw ourselves in when we are ignorant of what we are putting in our body. So I would say these three.
Lovely. I like the last one on calorie counting because it's the best way of knowing what's going into your body. And like I keep saying, that everything that goes into your body becomes a part of you. So where do you want that potato chip to be? Do you want it to be part of your nose, part of your ear, part of your chin? Where does it want to go?
I think the potato chip has a preference for
the tummy. Super. Shashank, where can people get in touch with you? Where can people start, connect with you? What are your handles?
So, personally, I have now gone off all social media because all my time, energy is spent on propagating the and nothing else message. But if you want to read the blog which started all of this, check out fitshit.in. That's FITSHIT.in. And nothing else. If you want to check out the brand, that's andnothingelse.in. And on Instagram, we're on and nothing else foods.
Okay. One word? No underscore?
Yeah. No underscore. And nothing else
foods. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. We'll put the links in the show notes, etc.
Yeah. And like we were discussing, Ashton, that for the listeners of the Habit Coach, we'll create a special coupon code called Habit Coach.
Superb.
Which will get you a 15% off on your first purchase on and nothing else.
That's awesome. So they just go into the website and in the coupon code, they write Habit Coach, right? Okay.
That's right. That's
perfect. Right. Awesome. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashton Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and Intel. It's been a really, really cool week on the network. We've had Ashwin Sanghi on Cyrus Says. We had Masaba Gupta on Advertising is Dead. You should definitely check out Vivek Lath, who showed up on Storytellers and Story Sellers. A close friend and partner of ours, Karthik Paricha, was on the Pragati podcast talking about the future of podcasting, which I think is really, really interesting. And I would like to ask people to check out All Things Policy and what they've been doing. They've been having some really interesting discussions about India's challenging relationship with China as we go forward, and I think that would be a great thing for you guys to check out. So with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
We're your family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. We're what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel,
And me, Tushar.
every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.